Hey everybody, Joe Lodovico here of the East Coast Schuco Monorailers, filming the first ever episode of our new web series, The Modeling Shop, where we take you behind the scenes of the East Coast Schuco Monorailers and answer your questions on modeling, monorailers, and trains, and hopefully have a little fun along the way. If you like this episode and you find it entertaining, be sure to like us on our Facebook page and our upcoming YouTube channel. Okay, so the first question I'm going to answer. How are the monorails packed and how many do you have? So, I always get the questions at train shows, whether it's from people who know about Schuco, the company, or just people in general. They want to know, how many monorails do you guys actually have? And the answer is the following. We have 6 monorails that we run at train shows. That's these 6 right here. 2 silver, 2 red, 2 blue. I have an additional engine that I will swap on and off at the shows. That's this guy right here, blue engine. And I have a set here, this set, you can see it's a little different, a little lighter blue. This one I bought from England, and whoever owned it painted it over in a non-authentic dark blue. The dark blue was their own doing. So I refurbed it back to what it was, and you can see here, refurb job that I did. Fairly decent, not great, but you know, it does the job. So the next question is, how are they packed? Very simple. The monorails were packed in a box like this. Okay? And when you open the box, of course there's no monorail in here now because the one that was in here is on this table. But when you open the box, there were many variations on this packing. I should say that before we go any further. Because if you go on eBay, you'll see tons of variations. Or online, you'll see tons of variations. You would have this. This is the very basic monorail packaging. You would have your instructions. These are, of course, non-original. I'm trying to get an original set. But that's a copy of the booklet. You would have 3 heights worth of pylons. That's 1, these 2 here, 2, 3 different heights. You would have a little baggie of pins and clips for which to put in your tracks and clips to use to hold the tracks together. See the little holes in the bottom of the track there for clips. You would have one of these clips. This is a two-prong clip, and a singular clip-on with a V-clip to clip your wires to. And you'd also have these guys. These little dots are what you put on the bottoms of these pylons to hold them up. You also have your 2 wires and some curved and straight track, and your monorail would go right here. So this is the basic Schuco monorail packaging. Now, they have many variations, as I said before. There is a set out there. It's got a 4-car, or a Mark II train, as we call it. These are all Mark I or 3-car trains. And it has the 4-car train, 2 switches, and 2 block signals. Now the block signals, I don't have packaging for them, so I didn't put it out here on the display counter. As soon as I get one, I will show you. But I can show you the switches, which are these guys here. When you get switches that are not in a set, if you get them in a set, they'll be in the set. But when they're not in the set, they come with their own box. This one here is a left-hand switch. I keep thinking right, left-hand switch. And when you open it, I'll show you as we open it here, you can see that it comes out, it's wrapped up in the packaging. Okay, it's got a nice wrap on it. And you can see here it's brand new with all the clips. Okay, this guy's never been out of the box. Okay, not very often do you see this. Now if you flip it over, you've got the operating instructions for said switch. So, that's the switches for you. As far as the pylons go, because I got that question too, the pylons were either sold in set or in a box. This is a right-hand switch, by the way. Like this. And as you can see, there are 10 pylons in a box. So there you go, the 10 pylons, and they came in multiple sizes. They also had extendable pylons that had a little metal tip and you could pull it out. So that's the pylon box, relatively flat box. The switches that I have are all electric. There is a manual switch out there, but they're all electric. So the question becomes, how do you control them? Very simple. You have 2 options out there. You've got a manual control, which you push button like you would for any other model train switch, or Schuco came out with this neat little variation. This is brand new in the box too. Very rare to find these as well. So that's why I show you, so you have an idea of how rare this stuff is. If I can get it out of the box. Which is an automatic control. This is a brand new, never run auto control, and it has the instructions with it. to show you how to hook it up. By the way, that's the manual control, if you can see that. So that is the first question. So that's the first question answered, the first few questions. How did they pack them? How many do you have? What's out there? As far as transformers, you've got 220 volt, which is from Europe, and the 120 volts, which are made here in the U.S. and they are Schuko transformers, specifically designed by Schuko for the monorails. This is not a basic train transformer. You cannot, repeat, do not go out and buy one of these. There are some substitutes, but we don't recommend you buy them because they just don't run the monorails as efficiently or as well. So that's the first question of many to be answered on this episode. Question number 2. What is this monorail modeled after? Well, it's actually modeled after the monorail in Disneyland, hence the name Schuko Disneyland Monorail. Okay, Schuko built the monorail after it was commissioned by Disney. Now, the layout we display is a layout built by Schuko for use by hobby stores to display the product. So it's literally a display layout. But they didn't model it after Disneyland, quite obviously. They modeled it after Germany because this was a layout built to target the basic consumer who didn't necessarily want a Disneyland monorail, but wanted a monorail they could run, say, anywhere, say, in a town. So in their instruction booklet, this is a copy, not the original, it's a copy of their booklet, of which I have multiple copies. They had this layout, the number 4 layout. Here it is here on your, for your viewing here. And you can see that it's a little bit different than this one in that the buildings are taller, but it's the same layout style as far as the track is concerned. Now, the reason for that is because, as far as we know, Schuko was trying to create a very visual product. They wanted the monorails to be the center focus, not the tall buildings. So, less buildings, more monorails, more sales. So that's why it's a little bit different. But this is the Schuko's dream, the dream layout for Schuko monorails. This is the number 4 layout. This is the biggest and the best that Schuko had as their options for layout plans that you could make. Of course, you could expand this infinitely with any more track, but this was the layout version they gave you that you could do at home. And so that's what this monorail is modeling, and that's what this layout is. It's a very, very rare layout. There are only 3 Schuko factory-built display layouts in the world. This is one of the 3. This is the only version that's the number 4 layout off of their catalog. Okay, this is the only one that we're aware of. So when you see this, and it's kind of hard for me to even say it, this is one of a kind. So, that's why we display this, because we want people to see this layout. We want this layout to be known. We want people to have the opportunity to say, hey, I saw that, It's kind of neat. And you'll notice behind me, my wall of fame here, and I don't know if you can see it, but up top here, we were featured in the July 2019 issue of Classic Toy Trains, so you can see it right up there, if you can. And we were also featured on a website that's run by Doug Burwell, phenomenal guy. He's another monorailer on the West Coast in Colorado, so we're also online. We're on the web, we're in print. So that's question number 2. And let's get to question number 3. Okay, question number 3. You'll notice I'm sitting now, I'm a little more comfortable. It's easier to talk about this. We get the question, what kind of trains do you run on the HO scale track? And to answer your question, it's a 3-rail track. The train we run is a Markland train. Now, of course, that wasn't originally what was run on this track, because Schuko originally had Trix trains on their track. This is the original train off that layout, by the way. I don't run it anymore because there aren't many Trix trains out there, quite frankly, and if I ran this might stop working at some point, and I'd rather not risk that. With the Markland trains, there are far more Markland trains out there, and I have a far wider variety of trains to run, quite frankly. And it enables me to switch them on and off and to make the trains interesting. And so I'm not limited to one train. I'm not risking one very, very hard to find train. So this is the original train. Now, you'll notice the Trix track has 3 rails, like Markland. 2 outer rails and an electrified center rail. Now, unlike Markland, Markland had, when it first came out, had these 3 bars going across. It went to the little bumps in the middle shortly after, but Trix never did because Trix, of course, went out of business, as we know. So they're not in business anymore. But anyway, that's the trains that are on the layout. And the other question I get is about these trains is, why is it that they run so fast? And quite frankly, the monorails are powered by 25 volts DC, and that's a lot of voltage. So these things are literally ripping around the layout. I get a question, can you turn them down? I really can't, because if I did, you know what would happen? The engines are so old that if I turned them down even the slightest bit, they'd actually stop. They would not be, they wouldn't have the power to make the switches, and they would sit on the switches, and they would short out switches, and we'd have all kinds of issues. So it's weird, but you're better off running them full voltage than half voltage, because you will short out your electrified switches. The other thing that I get the question about is the monorail track itself. How does the monorail track work? There are 3 rails, like the Trix track, like the Markland track, okay? You've got a center rail, and on either side, you've got a powered rail. So what this means is that you can take a monorail, and when you hook your wires up, you've got 2 clip-ons, okay? You've got a 2-prong clip-on. You put 1 wire on 1 prong, and you've got a single prong, 1 wire to that one. Okay, put them on your track. Why the double prong clip-on? I'll tell you why. You've got 2 power rails here. On the monorail is a switch. The side indicators, you can switch it. So one monorail is powered by the left side, the other one gets it off the right side. So you can run 2 monorails on 1 track. So I could have one monorail that's running off of power from this side of the track, the inside, and the other one that runs from the outside. So rather than 2 monorails, 2 tracks, 2 monorails, 1 track. Kind of a neat system. Schuko really thought that out. It's kind of neat. So it allows you to do a lot with the monorails. Now, of course, I don't do that. I have these little nifty switches. So when the monorail comes and trips the switch, they automatically switch. This one stops, picks up the passengers, so it makes the loop. This one comes around, hits this switch. Of course, they will go at the same time. And it goes. And this light goes red, this one goes green. So just something kind of interesting. And I'll give you a little tidbit of information that I've never been asked this question, but I'll give you this information. The buildings are all Fowler buildings. Okay, it's all Fowler. Okay. These are the original buildings that were on the layout. So, you know, this was the station, this was here. That was the church that was on the layout. So these are all Fowler. Okay. The cars themselves, one more tidbit, are all original Schuko cars. Okay. So these are worth quite a bit of money themselves. So you can imagine the value goes on and on and on and on and on, adds up. So that's question number 3. How are they powered? What trains do you run? And a little bit of bonus info. So next we're going to talk less about monorails, more about modeling. I'll give you guys a little taste of what I do in the modeling world. That's next. So now we're in my train room. This is where my layout is. This is a gigantic layout. Not gigantic, but it's big. Okay, I model in many, many gauges. I model in O, HO, ON30, N. Okay, those are my gauges. I model in both 2 and 3 rail HO, and I model in many, many makes of O. I model in Lionel, I model in MTH, Williams, K-Line. I've got them all. Okay, I model Europe on the HO side, so this is Germany. I have all different European brands that I run here. And on the O side, I'm modeling New York, a fictitious extension of the New York Central New Haven line, that kind of thing. That we've entitled the New Haven West line, okay? Or sorry, the New Haven East line, I apologize, East. And we have all kinds of neat things on this line. We have a subway that goes around the top, MTH subway, which is kind of neat. 2 different subways, the MU and the R36 card. You've got all different kinds of trains that go around the outer loop. Many bump and goes, oil refineries, all kinds of stuff going on in here, all kinds of neat things. So that's what I model. Now, as far as what I'm going to show you about modeling, it's going to be a little bit of everything. So my forte is the detail work. I put the trees in, the people in. I do all the stuff that makes it look real. My dad likes fooling with the electrical stuff. He likes the wiring. He likes the track laying. He likes the planning. He likes that kind of stuff. That's what he likes to do. So we complement each other really, really well. So when it comes to wiring, that's his forte. He'll take over that. Detailing, you're stuck with me. So that's what we do. That's what we model. And we're going to talk a lot about the stuff on the set because there's a lot of cool things you won't see really anywhere else. And this is a great spot to talk about it. And this will also be where I open the discussion on modeling. This is where we can have an open-ended discussion. So if you, let's say you have a question on something and you post it to me, I will do my best to answer it. And this is the portion of the episode where we're going to delve in and answer your questions about modeling. So as with the Schuko monorails, we're going to answer some basic questions on your modeling. And I'll give you a little bit of basic info and we'll go from there. So let's get going. So this is Command Central for the O scale side of my layout. So you've got here all these switches on both sides of me. You'll see them, okay? People ask me, where are the transformers? If I want to run anything that's just plain analog, meaning not digital, not, gimmicked in any way, big old ZW. Okay? And this is kind of a neat invention. My dad found out about it. He read about it in a magazine. He said, oh, great. So these are basically hinges that open up like a shelf, and they lock into place. So it enables me to have my ZW when I need it, and then, when I'm done with it, I just slip it away. Okay? And I don't risk damaging the handles in any way, shape, or form, and I can walk in and out. When I want to run my digital engines, I've got two means to do that. I have the MTH Digital Command Control remote, okay, like every other MTH person does, because this is a great remote. I love this thing. And I have them hooked up separately for many reasons, but I have the old school remote commander by MTH for the subway. So the reason I did that is because I want to run analog edges on this bottom loop, and I have to have them connected separately in order to do that. My dad will get more into that in the wiring section, if anybody's interested. Otherwise, we'll just kind of skip over that, because that could be a boring topic. But anyway, so that's how these are set up to run. In addition, my bump and goes, I have one that runs off the ZW, which is this guy right here, my trolley. I've got a fire car and a gang car that'll run off an MRC 2-pedal transformer. And I've got many other accessories that are hooked up and that are designed to work off this whole area. So it's still like you're flying a 747, but a lot simpler. And I've also devised so that the inner loop is completely isolated from the outer loop, or you can open it up and bring a train through. So you can run two trains, analog if you want, or if you're running digital, or if you're just running one train and you want to bring it through, you can do that too. But if you're running digital, you don't have to worry about that. You just flip open the switch and you can run as many as you want, because you can do that with MTH. So that's kind of the neat thing about that. So, next thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you some basic stuff that I can do with the engines. And I'll probably position the camera in a better position so you can see some of what I'm doing. Try and make it a little bit easier for you to see it. And give you a feel for what we do here. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a basic feel for the trains here in the train room. Now I'm going to walk you through the setup procedure, then I'll zoom in on the trains and I'll stop talking for a few minutes. So I'm going to run some digital trains because you'll have a lot more fun watching them than the old school. We'll run some of the old school ones too, because I've got a lot of rare old school ones that are pretty cool to check out here. But we're going to run a digital train for now. So on the track, which you'll see in a minute, because you can't see it from where I am, but I have one of my two NW2 switchers. They're MTA NW2s made by MTH trains. They're very rare because MTH produced the subway maintenance set. If anybody of you guys know about the subway set they produced with the NW2s, that's what they're off of. They had to stop production of that set because they didn't have the license to put the MTA logo on those trains. So there are not many of them around. I have two of the locomotives, not the sets, which I'm trying to find. But I've got one on there. I've actually got a car off of one of the sets, I think. But I've got a maintenance of way subway car over there on the other side that I disconnected it from, along with a couple of New York Central maintenance of way cars that it'll be going to get in a minute. And I've also got my MU, Long Island MU cars up on the subway. So I'm going to walk you through the procedures here. So I've already turned on my power to my transformers and everything. And you can always tell because this Christmas tree right here, this tree that I have that has lights in it, it's lit up. That's my own little indicator that I know that it's on. And I'm also going to turn some accessories on. So we'll turn on this side of the accessories, that side, and I'll turn on these. Now, You're not going to see anything until I start running trains. But they're all on, so we're ready to go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on my subway system. Get that guy rolling. Should hear him turn on in just a minute. There it is.
Auto mode.
Now I've turned it on to auto mode, so it should be coming around behind us in a little bit.
You got it.
So now, I'm going to turn on my NW2. My remote is on, the switch is flipped, and we're going to start them up. Okay, so I'm going to reset real quick, and then we'll watch the trains run from inside my layout room and on the railroad of the New Haven East Lines.
Alright, let's bring it to a stop so we can take a look at that section of track up ahead. Let's lift up that bunch of car ties. This is the 714 Hempstead Bridge. Okay, set them down easy. Next stop, Bella Road. Next stop, Bella Road. Good job. Alright, let's get those ties set in place. Hey, keep an eye out for road trains. There's a road train approaching. Keep clear. This is the 714 Hempstead Bridge. All clear. Good job, you guys. The rest of this section looks good. We can move on. Get that crane back into position. Next stop, Floral Park. Next stop, Floral Park. Okay, that's it. You guys grab the gear and hop on. We're heading on down the line. Dispatch, this is the work train. Go ahead, work train. We're heading back to Coney Island Yard. 10-4, work train. up, you were dead.
Okay, so that was about 5 minutes worth of watching trains run. And of course, if you liked that, then I'm going to always put more at the end of the video so you guys can see some of the trains running. And I'll show you some new trains that I get here and there. And that was only the O scale side. I was just showing you some of what I can do. I didn't show you all the accessories and everything that's in here. Just give you a very basic look at the DCC trains that I have running. As of course we track the subway a little bit, we follow the work train. I showed you some of the various signals that I have on the layout. There are quite a few. We'll check them out. And when we get to the HO side, that's a whole other world because you've got buildings that do things, and we've got mines over there. We've got, it's not in operation yet, but I've got the Titleist Bahn from Switzerland, which I'm hoping to get in operation soon. That takes you high up into the mountains that I have actually hand carved out of insulation foam. And so there's a lot of stuff there. And there's more, tons more on the O side we haven't seen. We haven't checked the oil refinery out. You haven't seen the building that's on fire that the fire department can't seem to put out. I don't know why. So that's there. And we have some really cool signal towers and stuff that you guys haven't seen yet. So all kinds of fun stuff. But, that's just a taster. And so it's about 5 minutes worth. And so I'm going to head to the workshop and we'll answer a few just really quick and simple questions about modeling. And then we'll wrap it up and I will post this episode and we'll see what you guys think. If you like it, we'll make more. I hope you like it because I like making it. It's fun for me to be able to do these kind of things. So like it, and let's head to the workshop and ask some quick questions for you. Okay, so to wrap up today's video, I'm doing the unofficial first segment of a weekly segment we're going to have in the show called Engine or Train of the Week. And this is going to feature either a train, an accessory, a piece of rolling stock that we will be selling at the shows that we're at. But this week it's going to feature something from my collection that I won't be selling. I'm just going to show you two of my favorite items in my collection. And we're going to I'll just tell you what they are. So we're going to start with the HO. There's an engine over there that's an American engine. made by an American company. And that is the Atlas AEM-7 SEPTA locomotive. It's one of my favorites in my collection. It's one of my most recent additions to my collection. So I got this with a collection of other Atlas electric type locomotives, some Bachmann locomotives, not Bachmann, Walters locomotives, and so yeah, so I got it in that collection of locomotives. So this is the SEPTA locomotive. It's very detailed. Okay. And it retails for about $170, whereabouts. It's a nice run. It's very quiet. You can run it almost a crawl, going both ways. So that's a locomotive I like. I like it for the runnability and the look, and I think it really is an engine that if you want to add to your collection, I think it's a great addition. So that is the HO engine of the week, the Atlas AEM-7 SEPTA locomotive. Now the next one is not necessarily a rare locomotive or unusual one, but it's one that I think is a great runner, and I have it on my layout. And we have one for sale, but it's a Canadian Northern version. This is the Lionel Lines number 52 firefighting car, and I have the Lionel Canadian Northern version for sale at the show, so come and check it out. It is for sale. But this is my original red version, and it's relatively clean. A few scratches here and there, but it's clean and it runs great. So I'm going to put it on the track. I think it's such a cool addition to any collection if you can get a firefighting car. And it runs great. So that is the engine of the week for the O-scale side. Again, there is a Canadian Northern version we'll have for sale at the show this weekend. This weekend's show, the New Haven and Derby Model Railroad Club show. Come check us out. We're there 9:30 to 3. So, that wraps up the first episode of the Modeling Shop. From all of us here at the East Coast Schuka Monorails, I'm Joe Lodovico, and we'll see you next time for more modeling.